Hey Fragrance family, I'm Daver.
And I'm Kristen.
And we're the Fragrance Bros.
Fragrance Bros!
Coming at you again with special guest Kristen from Beauty Meow. How are you doing, Kristen?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Doing great. Great to have you on. And today
so
we
much.
are reviewing Black Orchid Eau de Parfum and Black Orchid Eau de Toilette for a double review.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and get straight to it. Date introduced for the Eau de Parfum was 2006. The Eau de Toilette was released in 2015. Both are classified as oriental florals. Notes are jasmine, black truffle, ylang ylang, black currant, citrus, orchid, patchouli, sandalwood, dark chocolate, incense, amber, vetiver, vanilla, and balsam. Now, Kristen, what did you get out of longevity out of this?
All right, so the Eau de Parfum is a beast.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. It's like over 20 hours on my skin. I can take a shower, scrub my skin, and I still, like, you can smell it. The Eau de Toilette is actually still a beast at like 10 hours. And even longer depending on when I spray it and where I spray it. Like if I spray it on my clothes or my skin. They're both crazy good with longevity.
Yeah, I totally agree. The Eau de Parfum is beast mode. Beast mode! And it is super, super powerful, yeah. And easily well over 12 hours on that one, easily. And
yeah.
I didn't clock it, but I mean, at that point, it's like, who cares? The Eau de Toilette is still powerful, but it's not as beastly. And I really appreciate that, which we'll go into later. But I get more in the excellent range with the Eau de Toilette, which I think is great. What about projection?
For me, they both project pretty well. It has to do with how they project. So to me, the Eau de Parfum is more of like a heavy cloud.
Yeah.
Like it's really heavy, it's really dense, and that's really nice if that's what you're going for. In some cases you want that, like especially if you want it to stand out in a lot of scents or in a lot of people. But what I really liked was the Eau de Toilette. It was kind of more, it was still very heavy, but it was not nearly as dense. Still, they both had excellent projection.
You're right. The Eau de Parfum, the projection is so thick, it's almost like a cloud. Yeah. Hanging around you, and like fog almost, you know. The Eau de Toilette still in the excellent range, but more friendly, I would say.
Yes. It's like pig pen.
Yeah, that's right.
You were saying that last week. I think you mentioned that, and I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah. Season, I think both of these are great in the cooler weather. I think winter works best for both of these. Fall, you could also do that as well. But I would never wear these in the warmer months at all.
I wouldn't either, and not even just because I think that they're too heavy to wear in a hot and humid environment. I feel like a lot of these notes actually shine brighter or are better in cooler months. You can really just completely appreciate them more and appreciate this fragrance more, because in the heat sometimes like they just all get muddled together. There's not really, you can't really distinctively tell what's what. It all just kind of like flows and just sits. But I think in the cooler weather is when you can distinctively pick out like the truffle, you can pick out the orchid, you can pick out all the other notes, and I think that's when this fragrance wears the best, and is also, again, a lot more easier and comfortable to wear in the cooler months.
Purpose, I think it really depends on which one you're reaching for here, but both of these work best in formal situations. The Eau de Parfum, really, I would say only formal. The Eau de Toilette, I think you could use that more so in casual situations, but definitely not at work.
Oh no, absolutely not. Even though I think these are absolutely beautifully magnificent scents and I love it, I feel like these are not easy to understand. And I think Tom Ford, there's half of his fragrances are easier to understand and other of them are just like really just like you're not meant to understand, and they're almost meant to be a little bit more provocative. And I think this is one of the provocative scents that is not made for like a cubicle or a work environment, but made for very formal occasions or occasions where you want to stand out from the crowd, but definitely not work appropriate.
All right, so Kristen, what do these remind you of?
Well, to me, these are very provocative.
Yeah.
Like both of them are very provocative scents. And I love that there's this really nice balance of kind of like earthy, almost savory, with it like indolic white florals.
Yeah.
With this almost kind of like really like the patchouli is almost like a little bit like effervescent, like cuts through it and like livens it up a little bit and brightens it up just a little bit. So for me, these just are they just kind of remind me of a very like femme fatale woman, you know?
Yeah.
Like a take charge, owning your sexuality type of lady, or man even. I feel like these are very unisex fragrances. But just somebody who's like in charge of themselves.
Yeah, I totally get that as well. This is one of Tom Ford's legends in in the fragrance community. I mean, it is, when it came out, it really made waves. I remember some of the the media that was coming out with it. Some of them were nice, and some of them were pretty scandalous.
Oh yeah, definitely not safe for work whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I love that because that ad campaign truly fits like how this fragrance smells.
Exactly.
You can imagine. And I also like how a lot of people have really been grabbing onto this fragrance, like men and women, different age groups, different walks of life. Like this is also one of the fragrances I think that people really started to not take Tom Ford seriously as a perfumer, but it came a little bit more accessible.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is when he started to get a lot of attention, a lot more attention, more mainstream, because of his fragrance, because it was different, it was provocative, it is unique, but it's also there's something about it that's very cultish,
yeah,
like in how people love it, and I can see why. You know, I love it.
Absolutely, I think that's a perfect word. I think there is definitely a cult of fans out there who really love Black Orchid, and I think one of the reasons for that is that it's a very polarizing type of scent, because some people just absolutely love it, and other people are a little bit repulsed by it. And I can see both sides of the spectrum here. There is definitely something that is really powerful and seductive about it, and also a little bit weird and maybe almost grandmotherly. I could see that too.
I think that's from the heavy white florals.
Yeah.
I think when we look at white florals, and especially very indolic, like overripe fragrances, like you kind of think of your grandma's like heavy perfumes.
Yeah.
And I love those. Like I love all, you know, different types of fragrances, but I can see where people who kind of would shy away from that. And also the truffle note, most definitely. People are going to love it or absolutely be repulsed by it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm also glad that you mentioned the unisex quality of this, because I personally think it's more of a feminine type of scent, but I think I'm in the minority in this case because there are a lot of men out there who really like it. And I know several men that I can think of off the top of my head that really love it. I think that's really interesting. I remember seeing an interview with Tom Ford talking about Black Orchid. From what I understand, he tells a lot of his sales associates not to say if it's for a woman or not. And a lot of men buy this scent because they really like it. I think that's really interesting, and it's hard for me to understand because I don't see it as something that I would wear personally, but I think that's a very powerful testament to the success of this scent. I'm also really glad that you mentioned like the take charge aspect of this fragrance, because I totally see that. And I remember we talked about this off camera, but it really reminds me kind of like Sharon Stone, Basic Instinct type of thing, you know?
Oh, that's what she would wear in that scene.
Absolutely.
Unapologetically, just sitting there like,
Absolutely. I think a really good comparison to this scent is Aventus for men. I think that is the type of scent for women that Aventus is for men. Very, very much powerful, take charge type of scents. And I know Aventus tried to make an Aventus for women. It's okay. But the spirit of both of them are very similar here, I think. Now, the name Black Orchid is supposed to, obviously smell like a black orchid. This scent is supposed to be. Very, very floral type of scent. I think almost like a Middle Eastern type of floral. And very syrupy, dense, very rich, and complex as well. As you said, there's a lot of earthy elements in here that kind of give it a lot of depth. And again, as you said, very indolic and deep and dark. Just a really good floral type of scent. And Tom Ford, a lot of his scents, he can just crank them up to 10. And that's what he did with this. It's a floral, just cranked to 10 or 11. It's just, he just maxed it out. And it really, really works here.
I love how he's unapologetic with his fragrances too. Like he knows that the fragrances he creates are not going to be for everyone. But when it comes down to like almost his mainstream fragrances, not his private blend, I see him taking more risks.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is one of them, because if you think about it, like truffle in a fragrance, like you see that with some niche fragrances that are really very conceptual and very beautiful, but for a mainstream fragrance, you're like, mushrooms?
Yeah.
You know what? But it's so well balanced and so good. And I feel like he is so unapologetically him. And I feel like this fragrance is one of the fragrances that's a shining example of that.
Now, speaking of the eau de toilette, there are a little bit of differences between the two. For one, the notes that I read off earlier are slightly different for the eau de toilette. I didn't name all the notes for the eau de toilette because they share a lot of common ingredients, but there's slight differences there. I think overall, if you were to smell them one day, if you were to wear one day and one the next day, you might not think there are many differences there because they smell very much similar. The eau de toilette, obviously a little bit lighter. I really appreciate that in this case. I also get a little bit of a little bit more greenish twinge to the eau de toilette. Definitely less of that syrupy denseness that is in the eau de parfum anyway.
It's definitely brighter and sharper.
Yeah.
And I feel like, although I absolutely love the eau de parfum, it's ridiculously gorgeous, I feel like you get more of the truer notes in the eau de toilette. Like, they're not so muddled together and married together. They're interesting and they're all playing off of each other. And I really love that it's a little tiny bit simpler, but it's still Black Orchid. But you get more of the complexity in the eau de toilette than you do in the eau de parfum.
Yeah, these are beautiful scents. I will say that they're definitely not for me, but I definitely see the appreciation for this scent because it is really well done. And I really applaud Tom Ford for making this scent because it needed to be made. It is something that if you haven't tried it, you really need to experience it, and it's pretty easy to find.
It's definitely one of those fragrances where I can see where somebody won't like this. For me, when it comes down to this fragrance, what I love about it is its kind of difference. It's unique, it's special, it's a little bit bizarre, but it's also still very safe. So I kind of like that it kind of, like you said, feels like a more mature fragrance. It's youthful and mature, and it's masculine and it's feminine, and it's old and young. It's such an interesting fragrance. It's so smartly done, and I definitely agree with you that it needed to be made, and I'm so glad that it was.
All right, so bang for buck. These are very affordable, pretty easy to find. $115 for 100 ml of the eau de parfum, and $107 for the eau de toilette. Very similar price range for both of those. And I would say if you're looking to get one of them, definitely try both of them, see which one you really like. Because I personally prefer the eau de toilette because it's not as beastly. So maybe people out there might like the eau de toilette. Maybe you might like the beastly quality of the eau de parfum. There's not much difference in price, so definitely check both of them out. Now, what about compliments? Did you get many compliments while wearing this?
No. My husband does not like mushrooms in any capacity, and he picked that note out so fast. And he was like, "What are you trying to do to me?" And I feel like because this is such a polarizing scent, this probably won't be a compliment getter, but I feel like if you're wearing this fragrance, this isn't one you will be wearing for compliments. You're going to be wearing this for confidence. And I feel like that's the beauty of this fragrance, is it's very unapologetic.
Yeah, my wife, she thought this was okay. It wasn't her favorite, but she didn't hate it. So that says something anyway. I didn't really ask a lot of people what they thought. It's one of those scents for me. But I will say, from everything that I've seen, they're definitely going to be polarizing thoughts about these. All right, so Kristen, final rating, what do you give these?
I'm going to do them each separate.
Okay.
I'm going to do the eau de toilette 9 out of 10. I really think that this is a beautiful fragrance. I think this is a high quality fragrance. I think the quality of both of these juices could easily fit into his private blend line.
Yeah.
Like, no question. And I just love how complex it is. And as it being polarizing, I'm on the side that absolutely loves it. So 9 out of 10, most definitely. Now for the eau de parfum, it's like a 6 out of 10. Although I love the depth and syrupiness and sweetness of this fragrance, I feel like it's too heavy, it's too syrupy, it's too long. And I feel like although those are really fantastic things that I look for and desire in fragrances, if I can't pick out the interesting notes, then they're not even there, you know? And I feel like the eau de parfum is too heavy, at least on my skin. But it is a beautiful fragrance. But I do love that the eau de toilette performs better for what I would hope for. It still lasts a ridiculously long time, and to me it has more clarity than the eau de parfum.
Yeah, I'm going to give these a 3 out of 5. I definitely understand the love for this fragrance, and as I said, I think it's a gorgeous fragrance for somebody. And there is definitely a crowd out there of people that really love this scent. I can totally get it. It's an amazing floral scent that is just, you know, as beastly as you can make it. The opposite of minimalism is what this is. I can really appreciate this for what it is, but it's just not something that I would wear. So definitely 3 out of 5 for both of these for me. However, I do think that the Eau de Toilette is the better version because the Eau de Parfum would just be just too much almost all the time. So for me, 3 out of 5. So that's all we have. Thanks for watching. What do you think of Black Orchid, Eau de Parfum, Eau de Toilette? Let us know down in the comments down below. Do you like it, love it, hate it? Let us know. And of course, if you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe down below. We'll love you for it. I'll also have a link to Kristen's channel, Beauty Meow, where you can go and subscribe to her as well. Thank you again, Kristen, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
We'll see you next time. We're the Fragrance Brothers. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to check out my other channel, Beast Made Reviews, where me and a friend review high quality products for men. You might like it. Go check it out.